Book of Joshua, chapter 7. Chapter 7, the book of Joshua. Chapter 7. Verse 1, chapter 7. The Bible says, "But the children of Israel committed a trespass in the accursed thing. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took of the accursed thing, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against the children of Israel. And Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bethaven, on the east of Bethel, and spoken to them, saying, Go up and view the country. And the men went up and viewed Ai. And they returned to Joshua and said unto him, Let not all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and smite Ai, and make not all the people to labor thither, for they are but few. So there went up thither of the people about 3,000 men, and they fled before the men of Ai. And the men of Ai smote of them about 36 men, for they chased them from before the gate even to Shebarim, and smote them in the going down. Wherefore the hearts of the people melted and became as water. And Joshua rent his clothes and fell to the earth upon his face before the ark of the Lord until eventide, he and the elders of Israel, and put dust upon their heads. And Joshua said at last, O Lord God, wherefore hast thou at all brought this people over Jordan to deliver us of the hand of the Amorites to destroy us? Would to God we had been content and dwelt on the other side of Jordan. O Lord, what shall I say when Israel turneth their backs before their enemies? For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land shall hear of it, and shall environ us round, and cut off our name from the earth. And what wilt thou do unto thy great name? What wilt thou do unto thy great name? And the Lord said unto Joshua, Get thee up, wherefore liest thou thus upon thy face? Israel has sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant which I commanded them. For they have even taken of the accursed thing, and have also stolen, and disassembled also, and they have put it even among their own stuff. Therefore the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies, but turned their backs before their enemies, because they were accursed. Neither will I be with you anymore, except you destroy the accursed thing from among you. Be seated. Joshua had led the children of Israel across the Jordan River and had taken on the first battle, the city of Jericho. They had, you know the story of the city of Jericho, and how they marched round and round for 7 days, and when they shouted, as the Lord told them to, the walls fell down flat, and they had a great victory at Jericho, going into the promised land. So the next battle that was out ahead of them was a little place called Ai. And Joshua sent spies to go and look and see what it would take to go to battle with the people of Ai. And the spies come back and told them to look. They ain't even wasting everybody's time. Little place. We can knock this out, no problem. Let's just send 2,000 or 3,000 men, and we'll take care of it, and it won't have bothered everybody, and we'll just be right back. I mean, it's just going to be just a blowout. We're going to go in there and just knock them out like that. And the next thing that you hear is that the men of Israel went up to Ai, and they turned and run. And 36 of the men got killed. Of the children of Israel were killed in the battle. And they ran scared from the men of Ai. And they come back and let Joshua know. And next thing you know, Joshua and the elders of Israel are laying down on their face on the ground, and they've done taken dirt and put on their head, and all upset about what happened with the battle at Ai. And God came and said, "What are you doing laying here? What are you doing laying down here?" And Joshua said, "Look, Lord, what have you done to us? What have you done? Would it have been better to have stayed the other side of Jordan if we knew we were going to be defeated by Ai? And not only that, Lord, not only did you not go with us to Ai, what are the people going to think of you? Now, what's going to happen to your reputation, God, when everybody hears what happened to the people of God at this little small place called Ai defeated us? What's that going to do to your reputation? Shouldn't you just have just went with us?" And God said, "Look, get up off the ground. Get up, and let me tell you something about why you lost at Ai." I'm sure God, if not, I think He should have put in there, "Let me worry about my reputation."
Amen.
God can take care of His own reputation, I guarantee you. But He says, the children of Israel partook of the accursed thing. They done exactly what I told them not to do. And not only that, they brought back the accursed thing and hid it among their own stuff out here in the camp. The reason that you lost at Ai is you didn't trust me. You went your own way, and then you partook of the things I told you not to. So that's why you lost at Ai. It wasn't because I failed. God never fails. So I want to talk to you about rising up from defeat. Rising up from defeat. I assure you, if you're going to do battle with the devil, if you're going to walk with God, if you're ever going to have a relationship with Him that moves into doing His will and carrying out His will for your life and for the world around you, you're going to have battles that you lose. There's sometimes you're going to lose. Number one is this. I want to encourage you before the battle starts, before you determine to attack or take on whatever you're battling against, before you decide to do that, you need to make a full inventory of yourself and how ready you really are. How ready you really are, because then, if not, defeat is sure. Defeat will come. You will be defeated. So unless you assess your situation, and that is assessing your relationship with God. You know, people that profess to be Christian and people that are Christians oftentimes maybe get in touch with God, begin to start living for God a little bit, and start trying to walk with God a little bit, and then all of a sudden they just say, "Okay, God, I got it from here. I mean, I prayed to you 3 times, and I think now you pretty well take care of everything that I face, you know, and take care of any enemies that rises up against me, and I'll get back with you later on it," you know. God won't be treated that way. God expects a daily relationship with Him. If He's going to fight your battles, there's going to be a daily exercise between you and Him. Daily getting together with God and checking your situation out and looking at your own life. Before you're ready for battle, you better get battle ready. Amen. You better get battle ready. Joshua, we look at his call and commission. Listen, Joshua was a slave. I understand that. He come from being a slave. But Moses chose him to be a scout for Israel. And then eventually he took Moses' place as the leader of the children of Israel from victory to victory. He crossed the flooded Jordan. He conquered Jericho, and boy, he was riding high. He was riding high, and basically had just, like I said, forgotten about his relationship. He never talked to God. Never talked to God about it. Never went to the Lord and said, Lord, do you think that's a good idea that we cut the number down to about 3,000? Do you think that's what we need to do? He never consulted God with any of his plans in the next battle that he expected God to fight for him. Because God said, I'm going to go with you. And that's how he won at Jericho. So regardless of what the battle is in front of you, or whatever the trial is in your life, or whatever the crisis may be in your life, remember this, you ask God to help you, and you're going to need him to go with you. You're going to need him to go with you. And he only goes with you when he feels a part of your life, a part of your strategy. You know, me and God, that's all it takes. We're a majority. If God's going, I'm okay. You know, but I got to make sure God's going. And God has some stipulations on whether he goes or not. You know, if I'm not in relationship with him, God's not going. So we have to remember that. So we look at victory and victory, victory. I mean, just knocking them down left and right when he first took over. Now let's look at the agony of defeat. All of a sudden, a few thousand sent to conquer Ai, and they were defeated. Joshua was on his face, defeated and in despair. And God called and said, get up. Get up off your face. So Joshua must stop the questioning of God's character. It is funny to me, and I've done it 1,000 times myself, when I went into a battle, when I began to resist the devil, or I began to try to overcome a situation in my life that I had forgotten God. I forgot God said he would go with me. And I forgot that it's going to take all of God's power to deliver me. I don't have any. It's God's power that's going to deliver me. And a lot of times we forget that. So Joshua has to quit questioning the character of God. We are so quick when we don't win the battle. We don't even look at ourselves. We don't even look how much we invested. We don't even look if we were right with God or not. We don't even look and see if God sent us or not. We make up our own little plan and say, well, God, you better get on board now, after we have not even told him what the plan is. And then we head out. That's not the way God fights your battles. God fights your battles when you're in close contact with him, when you're striving to live for him, when you know that he's the one he's going to get credit for winning the battle. You're not going to get credit for winning the battle. Because the first thing Joshua had to say was, alas, O Lord God, wherefore hast thou? Wherefore hast thou? I know God must have said, wherefore hast who? Thou. It wasn't thou that done this. It was thee. It wasn't thou, it was thee, oh boy. Some things go wrong anytime things go wrong. Every time things go wrong, we immediately blame God. Well, God didn't show up. Well, God didn't do what he said he was going to do. That's the most foolish statement we can make. God didn't do what he said he would do. That had never happened since the history of the world. Since the world was created, nobody can stand and say, well, God didn't do what he said he would. That's never been true. It never will be true. So, if I don't have the victory, if I don't win the battle, the first one I'm going to look at is not God. It's me. It's me. And where am I at with God? Well, God's just lucky to have me anyway. Not so much. Not so much. He's not really that lucky. to have you on his side. He can make it without you. I bet. I bet he can make it without you. Consider the good things God's done before you start blowing up and saying, you've never done nothing for, a teenage child. You always do this. It's everything. It's not everything. And it's not. And see, that's how we'll blow up with God. You have never helped me on anything. Wait a minute. You're still here. You're still alive. He didn't kill you for your ignorance, for your stupidity. He could have killed you for it. He could have taken your breath away. He could be talking to you at the funeral home. Right? But you're still okay. So before you start to blame God, you need to consider some of the good things that God has done. First, he sends Moses to bring them out of Egypt. That worked. He opened the Red Sea for them to come across. That worked. He fed them manna when they were hungry for 40 years. That worked. He gave them water out of the rock when there wasn't any water in the desert. He led them across the flooded Jordan. That worked. He enabled them to conquer the mighty Jericho. That worked. Now, after one defeat, though, one defeat is God's fault. God didn't show up. Think of all the things God has done for us. He loves us. He gave us His Son. Offers to us for our salvation by faith. Receives us when we come to Him. How can we blame God for our defeats? You can't. Can't blame God for our defeats. And the message is how to rise up from a defeat. Number one, don't start blaming God. Don't get in your head that God didn't do something right. That God failed. That's impossible. So if the victory didn't come, there's something else. You have to look at something else. You have to look at you. So Joshua and Jimmy and Jesse, Lennon, you must stop questioning God's character. Don't question the character of God because it didn't turn out like you wanted it to. Next, you must stop focusing on the one defeat. One defeat. Listen to me. If you want to look at how this is going to go from now to the end of your life, if you want to serve God, there's going to be some defeats along the way. You might as well get used to rising up after a defeat. You need to learn how to rise up with character after the defeat, because the defeats are going to come. And the defeat does not mean that you, listen, Joshua didn't take the accursed thing. He didn't know Achan had stolen the Babylonian garment and the gold. He didn't even know that. So there's a lot of factors in why it didn't work this time. But one of the factors is not God. It's not God. That's not one of the factors. So there's a lot of factors in why it didn't work. But honestly, it all comes back to Joshua's feet because he was the one God chose to lead. He was the leader in this. So think of all the blessings that you've already been given. Don't focus on the one defeat and let that be the end. I see people all the time that served God for years and years. I felt that they were a good Christian person. I seen them live out their life. I seen them raise their kids. I seen them fight battles for God and win and walk with God and all kinds of stuff. And then I see them and I say, well, where are you going to church? They still going to church at so-and-so? Oh, no. Well, what happened? Oh, well, there was a lady in that church that said something to my wife, and that was it. Wait a minute, what? Well, where are you going now? We quit church. What? Wait a minute, I can sit down. You don't have to. I can sit down and count about 1,000 victories I know God gave you. I witnessed them. I seen them. I seen you win time and time and time again. And you're telling me, after all those years that you have committed yourself to God, and you raised your family at that church, and you've done all the things, and God blessed through that, carried you, brought your wife through cancer, and carried you through that bad illness you had. And remember when one of your children was at the hospital, you didn't know if they were going to make it, and they done graduated high school now, and they got children of their own, and God's still blessed, and they still living, and all of a sudden, and it was somebody at the church said something to your wife, and you count that one defeat. If you could even count that as one defeat, you count that one defeat and quit. My Lord, that tells me, it takes me back to a story some of y'all may have heard this. There's an old preacher named Mays Jackson, preached years ago, he's dead now. Mays Jackson used to tell a story of a boy that was on fire for God. He was in a church that was just blowing and going, souls being saved, the church moving forward, God just double blessing on everything the boy had done. I mean, he had walked with that boy and protected that boy and been with that boy all those years of his life, and I mean, he was just, he was the golden boy. I mean, he couldn't do nothing wrong. Everything he touched, God would turn it to gold. I mean, everything. He blessed ministry. I mean, everything taken care of. God just abundantly good. And Mays met him, had heard, but he had never seen the boy. But he ran into him in town one day, and Mays asked him, he said, I don't believe this. He said, but I just heard this. He said, I heard you quit going to church. He said, yeah. And he said, well, what happened? He said, oh, there was a squabble in the church, and he didn't get into all of it, just a squabble in the church. And he left the ministry. He's not even pastoring anymore, not preaching anymore, don't even go to church anymore anywhere. And he's raising small children. And Mays, and then he started to walk out, and Mays just told him, he said, listen, he said, son, you know it don't go like that. He said, do you know what God could allow to happen to you? And he said, oh, Mays, you got it all wrong. He said, I still love God and everything, and I just don't take it as serious as I used to, you know. And I haven't found a church yet. It's been 3 years. I haven't found a church yet, but we doing great. Maybe you ought to see the house that I got. He said, I got a 4-door carport. He said, there's a car in every one of them. He said, you just don't know how God's blessed me and how. May said, son, you know it don't work like that. He said, you know God. And we heard this message years ago. He used the term, he said, you know God will set your fields on fire. He'll set your fields on fire. And the boy left mad. He left mad. Well, that afternoon, this man was in his early 30s. He left mad. He went home that afternoon, sat down on the front porch of that big front porch he had on that big fine house he had, 4-door garage, and car in every one. And he sat there just reading the paper. Reading the paper, and his little 5-year-old boy was out in the front yard playing ball. Playing ball, and he come up there and he said, Daddy, when are we going back to church? He said, when are we? He said, I love Sunday school. He said, when are we going back to church? When are we going back to church? He said, son, don't bother me right now. He said, I'm reading. He said, go on out there and play now. And he come back up there and he said, Daddy, I really want to go. This 5-year-old boy, I really want to go back to church. And his daddy just took the paper and threw it down. Slung the paper down. He said, son, picked him up. He said, you look around here. You see all this stuff we got around here? He said, I take y'all and we go and we do anything you want. You got 4-wheelers and everything else, anything you want. Got this big fine home. Got all that automobiles and anything you want to ride we got. Ain't that good? Can't that be good enough for you? And plunked the boy down on the ground on the porch and said, boy, go play. And he took the paper and the little boy just left brokenhearted. So the little boy, as he come down off the porch, that ball he'd been playing with out there in front of him, he kicked it. Just kicked it. And when he kicked it, he took off running after it. Running after it. And they lived on a highway. And the little boy, just his eyes was fixed on the ball. And he run behind that ball and ran out in the highway. And the next thing that man that was reading the paper heard was a log truck lock his brakes up. And them tires squalling and smoking headed toward that little boy. And before he could get out of the chair and off the porch, the little boy was dead. Stuck to the front of that rig. Killed him right there. And he went running out there. And that man, they found him when the police got there. He was still huddled up with that little boy right in front of that log truck saying, God, I'm sorry. God, I know what you mean now. God, I understand now. God, I understand now. God, I understand. That's all he would do is sit there rocking that little boy back and forth saying, God, I understand what you're saying now. Terrible thing. But like I said, this man was a soul-winning machine, a pastor beyond belief, the church's growth unmeasurable, people being saved left and right, and a little squabble in the church. He totally quit on God. And then that happened. Terrible thing. But he knew, and he went back into the ministry. Now in the ministry at that time, which was about 25 years ago now. But now he's still preaching because the boy that was telling the story wasn't Mace Jackson, was somebody else I know, and he knows the man. And the man's back in the ministry and serving God now. But look what kind of loss he had to suffer just for a little squabble in the church. And he walked off after all the blessings that God had blessed him with. All the things that God had done for him in his ministry. And then one little squabble come up, and he turned it all over and walked off. That's kind of what this message is about. So don't be blaming God when something doesn't come through the instant you thought that it would. And examine yourself when you go to determine what happened. Why didn't that turn out like I had planned? The big point is that I plan thing. You need to get God in on those plans. If you want God to go with you, if you want assured victory, then God's got to go with us. And that takes a relationship with God to get God to walk with us, for him to walk with us. So let's quit questioning the character of God. Just don't do that. Don't focus so much on that one defeat. Don't let that kill you. Don't let that destroy you. Get used to the defeats. Just mark them down as another day working for God. Because that's what you do. That's what you get. When you decide you're going to start serving God, go ahead and write down, and I'm going to have setbacks, defeats, losses among the victories that God gives me. I'm going to have to deal with the losses of my life. They're going to come. Sometimes it ain't going to work out like I planned. Last thing, you got to stop worrying about public opinion. The last thing Joshua focused on was this. Said, Lord, I'm worried about your reputation. What will the Canaanites think about you now? Look, you've really messed this up, God. You've really messed this up. Look what they're going to think of you now. And like I said, I'm sure God must have said, oh, not my reputation you got to worry about. For the Canaanites shall hear of it. But like I said, God will take care of his own reputation. God will lift up his people when they are down. If you're at a point of defeat, God's not through with you. That doesn't mean God wants to throw you away. That doesn't mean you can't work for God anymore. That doesn't mean God won't set you with a brand new ministry or mission ahead of you. God will forgive you and start over again and help you and go with you. God has brought victory to many defeated people. One of them. God has brought victory to many defeated people. God's good at it. God's good at it, and God likes doing it. Listen, God likes doing it. God loves to forgive. God loves to forgive and to start you over again. There's nothing like it, because God can take somebody that has suffered those kind of defeats and a lot of times do more with them than somebody that hasn't, because he can remind you of saying, no, wait a minute, before you get too big britches, remember when. Remember when, and remember how much it cost, and you don't want to pay that cost again. So remember where you at with God when you're taking on a challenge. And there's all kinds of challenges standing right out ahead of you. Just get you some water wherever you're going and come right back. You don't go running around nowhere. You be sure to take a measure and see if it's worth it. What you're doing and how you're reacting to whatever's going on. When you become damaging to the church, when you become damaging to the church because of what you're doing or how you're acting or what's going on, be very careful. Be very careful, because there's somebody sitting beside you that's not as strong as you are. Don't carry your burden to them. If you're going to consult somebody or counsel with somebody, go to a Christian that's well grounded. Not one that's going to fly off the handle and just so they'll be on your side. It's easy to get people to be on your side, but that don't mean it's right. And that don't mean it's right. That don't mean you're right because you can delegate a bunch of people to be on your side. That don't mean you're right either. So we have to be very careful. And this fight that we fight for God, He's the winner. He's the winner, and He's the one that does the fighting. Remember, we don't fight against flesh and blood. We do not fight against flesh and blood. Our battles are not carnal. It's not a personal thing. And when it gets to be a personal thing, we're all out of hand. We're all out of source with God. When it becomes a personal matter, we're all out of source with God. We done got in the flesh now. And God's not going to help do anything. That's just like burying the Babylonian garment in your tent. That's like burying your sin in your own tent then. And God's not going to help you. And God won't even get involved in it. You say, well, I was just acting just like he was. There's no excuse. And God's not going to say, oh, well, I didn't know that. I mean, I'll forgive everything now. Why? Because you was acting like the other guy was? That doesn't make any sense. But we use all kinds of things to try to get out of taking responsibility for our own actions and our own disregard of what God has told us to do, to disregard what God has told us to do. And that's when trouble comes. That's when trouble comes. When Joshua was setting up to go to Ai, number one, wait a minute, I hadn't checked with God on this. Go get God's permission first. Go get peace that you're right with God before you even start taking on a battle. Before you start taking on a fight, go to God and say, God, is this how you wanted me to handle this? Do you want me to knock the forces down to about 3,000 and then go? Or how do you want for me to move forward? And then get some peace about that. And ain't nobody in here so spiritual that you already know. Oh, I already know what I'm doing is right. Boy, I hate hearing people say that, because that's kind of a sign to me that they don't know what they're doing. You know, No, what you're doing is probably as wrong as it can be. Because to me it sounds like there's way too much flesh in there. I don't see any humility at all. And to get something solved, there's going to have to be some humility. Somebody's going to have to humble themselves. The Bible says, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and He will deliver you. And Satan will flee out of it when you humble. Satan gets scared when you get humble. As long as you're all cocky and smart-mouthed about it and all that, Satan's got you right where he wants you to be too. He's got to cause trouble and contention. But when you humble yourself and you come at it from that approach, Satan ain't got a thing to work with. He cannot stand against a humble, sold-out Christian that has surrendered themselves under the mighty hand of God and under the direction of God. God can win the battle and nobody get killed. And nobody has to bleed at all. And God can settle the thing. You need to take your battle right to the Lord. You need to take your battle to the Lord. Whatever it is, get peace with God that the battle that you're fighting it God's way. Listen to me. That don't happen very often, that we fight it God's way. We get too full of ourselves most of the time, and we wound up doing more damage than we do good because we've done let the flesh get in there, and God can't use the flesh. He can only use a humbled Christian to win the battles with. And when you come in and your ears are smoking and your eyes is red and there's smoke coming out of your collar, you're really not ready to fight the battle. That it's a spiritual battle that you're fighting. I'll take the message tonight. Rise up from the defeat. Rise up from the defeat. No problem with that. God will forgive you. God will start all over again. You haven't messed it up too bad that God won't fix it. God will fix it. But you've got to humble yourself. Admit to God that God, I've thought about this all the wrong way. And Lord, I really haven't checked with you on anything. I want to check with you on this now, God. This is what I propose to do. I'm going to go to Him. And I'm going to sit down with Him. And I'm going to do this, or I'm going to take it this way or that way. Lord, what do you think about that? And the Lord will either say no, or He'll give you peace about it, then you can go. Because if He gives you peace about it, He'll go ahead of you. Or if not ahead of you, He'll always be with you. But if you start doing it on your own, God will take a step to the side and say, you go do that, and I'll get where you want to get back. So think about what I've preached tonight. Let's stand and we'll be dismissed. Father, as I close, God, I ask you to help us rise up from a loss, from a defeat. Lord, that we have many times in our lives. God, that we've got to become more humble. God, more usable. God, more focused and fixed on what you want us to do rather than what we want to do. And God, let us get to the place that we blame you for the failings of our life. God, or for the battles that we lost. God, I ask you, God, to just print this on our hearts now. God, and let us deal with this for the next few days, God. Lord, let it sink into our hearts and into our minds, God, that it has a benefit to us. God, that we make a change because of it. And you get glory from it, God. And we'll praise you for what you do with us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.